the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. I'm your host, Allison Nissen, and today I am lucky enough to have with me Jenna Mather. Jenna, why don't you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Hello, I'm Jenna Mather. I'm a teen writer, and I usually write for people my age, but also adults sometimes, in the genres of fantasy, contemporary, science fiction, and literary. And within those genres, I like to write a lot of short stories, one of which I was so grateful to have win the Candace Coghill Award from the Florida Writers Association in 2019. It was super exciting for me. And I also have written 2 novels, the first of which won an honorable mention from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. So I just love writing, and I'm so excited to see what I can do with it and see where my writing journey takes me.
Wow. So you're a teen writer. I assume you're still in high school. Is that correct?
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So thinking about colleges, thinking about your future, are you hoping to be a creative writing major, or do you have thoughts about what you want to do?
Yeah, so I am going for the major. The school I'm planning to attend has a major called English and Creative Writing. It's a publishing track. So it's like everything I've ever dreamed of in a school degree. So I'm going to learn about English and literature, but then also take a lot of creative writing classes, and hopefully I can kind of expand from just fiction and learn about poetry more and screenwriting and all these other forms of writing. And then also the publishing tracks. Then hopefully that will help me become an editor or fill any other job in the publishing industry.
Wow. I love that you have your plan mapped out. And
I try.
You're well on your way. Obviously, having 2 novels under your belt so far, that's beyond impressive. Most people are much older before they even realize they could write a novel, let alone finish a novel. So tell me what it's like to start your first novel and what that journey was about.
It wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. It was very hard. And the first novel that I started, the first 2 novels that I started, I didn't end up finishing. So, it was definitely not that I just sat down and, wrote it on the first try. The first novel I started writing was probably in like 5th grade. And obviously when I was ready, I thought it was gonna be a New York Times bestseller. I was super excited about it. And obviously that was not the case. It was not very good at all. But, it helped me learn about writing. And then I moved on to another novel. And that novel probably taught me the most out of all the novels I've written, even though it failed, because it taught me what the best way was for me to write a novel. It took me like probably about 3 years to attempt to write that novel. I didn't get very far into it, but I learned that I'm not the type of writer who can write a novel for 3 years. I need to make sure I write every day and make progress every day. Otherwise I just lose touch with the story. And so I kind of realized that with that story. And then when it came to the first novel that I actually finished, I knew that I had to write every day and I had to keep good notes, and I couldn't just write 100 words in 1 month and think that, I could go back to it. So then I kind of carried that with me to finish the first novel. But when I finished it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this a dream? It was awesome.
I'm going to go back to before 5th grade, before you actually sat down to write a novel. Obviously, stories are important to you.
Yes.
Were you a big reader as a young child?
Oh yeah, definitely. I loved reading. I loved storytelling. Even before I realized I loved storytelling. I think a lot of kids love to play with their dolls and stuff like that. And I love to do that. And I played with my Barbie dolls probably longer than I care to admit. But that was my way of storytelling before I could write. And I loved reading, and kind of all that came together mostly really in 4th grade when I realized, about creative writing and how fun it was. And I kind of, that the rest is history. Here I am.
Who's been your biggest mentor?
I mean, I look up to a lot of writers that I read, and like Marissa Meyer, she's one of my favorite authors. Sarah J. Maas. Whenever I read their writing, I kind of, it's almost like they're teaching me through that. And I read as with a reader. Of course, I want to enjoy the story, and I also read as a writer and kind of see what I like about writing and see what I don't like about writing. Then also my parents have really always encouraged me, and I kind of haven't really had one specific person that's been like my guiding figure. I've kind of, learned from everyone.
Well, that's really good. It's a great journey when you can sit down and be inspired by other authors. I'm often inspired by other authors. I will go back and reread a paragraph or a chapter because I'm amazed at how the
Me
author has
too.
woven it together in what feels unique to me. It might not be unique either to that author or to that it's been done before, but I do find that when I personally discover something new, I like to uncover how they did it and put it together.
Yeah,
It
like
almost like
dissect it. Yeah.
exactly. It's like I'm a scientist. Like I'm a mad scientist.
Yeah, right. I do that all the time when I'm reading.
So tell me about your editing process.
It's not easy. It's probably my least favorite part of writing. But you have to do it. And whenever I edit, whenever I'm writing, I keep kind of a list. I use Scrivener, so I make a separate document in Scrivener, and I kind of keep a list about what I want to fix, what I want to add, if there's something I want to change about a character. If it's a big enough change that I can't just like do it right away. And then when it's time for me to edit, I look back at that document and I, fix those things. And I just read through all the chapters. And sometimes I rewrite chapters. Sometimes I just fix a few things. It's really kind of all over the place. I try to do everything at once because I'm not a person who likes to do things in different rounds. I want to just like go in and get it done. So I, try to fix, if there's a plot issue, I try to fix that at the same time as I fix, trying to make the words prettier.
That's really smart. I like
and hard too.
Yeah, but what great advice, and I love that I'm getting it from somebody who's still in high school. But what great advice to keep a running list of all the things that you want to go back and fix and adjust. So, do you plot out your stories?
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't love outlining because whenever I have an idea, I want to just like dive in. I'm like, I have all these great scenes in my head, and I want to just go and like go crazy and have fun and write it. But I did that with one of the books that I failed at. And so I learned that wasn't for me. So people who can do that, like that's awesome because I wish I could do that. But I can't. I have to outline. And it's not like a hard outline. I just get the general plot points down, any scenes I'm thinking of. And then as I go, I kind of fill it in more. And if I see something goes a different direction, then I follow that if I want to. And if not, then I use the outline to kind of rein me back in and make sure I'm on track.
How about bad advice? Have you received bad advice?
The worst writing advice I've ever received is write what you know. Because I think when you're first starting out, it's good advice because you're just trying to figure out like your own voice and just how to write. You're trying to figure that out. But as I've kind of progressed a little bit, I think I've had the best writing moments when I write what I don't know. And I think it's actually helped me learn a lot about people because like I've been lucky enough. I have a lot of short stories I write center around a theme of like loss and sadness. And I'm lucky enough to have not really experienced like deep loss in my life. But I think through writing about people who've experienced deep loss and like writing in first person through characters who have just experienced a horrible, horrible loss, that it's helped me build empathy and learn about how it does feel to experience loss. And so I think it's helped me sympathize with people who have experienced that and learn about that.
Do you find that actually writing helps you uncover who they are? I know, for example, if I'm working on a research project, I will write it down because that will help me clarify what I don't know. Then I can go fill in the details of what I need to know.
Right. I think it's helped me uncover it a lot. I learn a lot about the character through the story. And I know whenever I'm writing, especially with a short story, with a novel, I definitely flesh out the characters more. With a short story, I kind of start writing and I almost am more of like a pantser in that way with short stories. I kind of just see where it's going to take me. But I know I learned a lot about the character from just writing them and from the first page of the story versus the last page, I learned so much about them and I kind of really make sure my writing is very emotional and that helps me kind of understand who they are as I go.
How does this affect your other subjects? So I'm thinking about like, say you have history in school and you're supposed to be studying the Civil War. Does this help you really understand the history, or let's take a science, biology or something, where now you take this creative side that you have and then you build stories around what your subjects are doing, other subjects?
Not really. I'm not a big science or math person. But I know actually with history, it was interesting because last year in my English class, we were learning about the Vietnam War, and we were reading a book called The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, which I love that book so much. The writing is like beautiful in that book. Yeah, it's amazing. I need to like try to meet that guy sometime, that author. But I was really inspired by that book. And actually my teacher, part of our assignment was we had to write or make some artistic representation about war and about how we thought about war. And so of course I'm a writer, so of course I wanted to write a short story about it. But I wrote this short story about a man who's drafted in a war. It's called A Routine of Illusion. It's actually available to read on my website. But I kind of used that story to dive into how my main character was feeling. And he wanted to be a doctor at first, but he was drafted in the war. So obviously now he's fighting and hurting people, and kind of how that emotionally impacted him. And that definitely helped me through writing through my own voice, and then also reading about the Vietnam War from a person who's actually experienced it. That kind of helped me learn a lot about it.
What are you working on now?
Well, right now, over the summer, I just finished my second novel. So right now I'm working on editing it, which is a huge undertaking. But I'm working on that right now. And then hopefully at the beginning of 2021, I'm hoping that I can query some agents with it. I'm super excited about that, and also very nervous, but we'll see how it goes. And I've always been, dreaming about literary agents and, thinking about what would happen if I submitted to a literary agent. So I'm kind of excited to, see what actually happens when it all goes down here in a few months.
So before we move to our rapid fire questions, I got one final question. Do you have any funny writing related experiences?
Yes. Well, at the time it happened, it definitely was not funny, but now looking back, it's funny. One time I was writing my first novel, and I was about 2/3 of the way done with it. And I had to open up my computer, and I was sitting on my bed, like reading or scrolling through social media or something. And my cat jumps up on my desk and walks across my keyboard, and somehow she copies the entire novel and deletes it. And I cannot describe to you how I felt in that moment. It was terrifying. And I jumped up, and I quickly pressed the undo button. Everything was fine. I got it all, but it was so scary. So looking back, I can laugh about it now. So now I'm traumatized, though. I always have to, anytime I get up from my computer, even if it's for a second, I have to switch it away to like Google or something. My book is never on the screen if I'm not sitting at my desk.
Do you save multiple editions?
I also do that. Yeah, I have I copy and paste it. I write in Scrivener, so I copy and paste it into Word every once in a while and save it. And then I also have it like automatically backing up to a Google document. So yeah, I have like 3 places where it's saved. And I'm not risking it. I can't do that.
Yeah, I lost my graduate thesis, which was
no.
To a cup of coffee. So it wasn't funny. And fortunately, I had printed it, so
thank goodness.
Type it all, but
at least you had it.
At least I had it. That's right. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I think I've lost three computers to coffee. So maybe coffee is not quite my friend that I think it is.
You get a cup that like seals the top or something.
Yeah, I need a sippy cup, right?
No mugs.
Like
no mugs.
Wobble, it just kind of stays upright. Exactly. All right, Jenna, how could people get in touch with you?
I'm on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at Jenna Mather Writer, and on Twitter at jmatherwriter. And then you can also go to my website, jennamather.com.
Are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
Have you ever had the opportunity to pet a dolphin?
I think I did, actually. Whenever I was really little, I think I went to the Keys and I think I pet a dolphin. I remember I was so scared you could touch its tongue. They had it open like its mouth. And I like refused to do that. I thought it was going to bite me.
Morning or night?
Probably night. I am definitely not a morning person. I like to stay up late, which never ends. I always regret that the next day, but I still do it anyway.
And do you have a favorite childhood book?
I read Harry Potter like 3rd grade. I love those so much. But then also probably the Percy Jackson series, because it was those books where I decided I wanted to be a writer and write novels. It was like that book that I was holding whenever I realized that, and so that was super exciting. So I love those books.
I like the Percy Jackson series.
Yeah, I read them like twice. I love them. They're so funny, and the writing is just great. I love it.
Jenna Mather, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun. I never thought I'd be on a podcast, so this is an unexpected surprise for this month. So thank you for having me.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Allison Nissen. Allison out.
Jenna Mather is a teen author who's been published in various literary magazines, Teen Inc., and has won several literary awards. When Jenna isn't writing, she enjoys reading YA fantasy novels, drinking coffee, and watching live theater. For more information on Jenna, visit her website at jennamather.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at our new website, floridawriters.org.